Hello, is this thing on?
I think it is. Are we really doing this?
We are so doing this.
Oh my god, guys! I'm Ro.
I'm Maddie.
Welcome to the
Oh My God podcast.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi, Ro.
Welcome to episode 4.
4.
Hey, I can't believe we're in our 4th episode. This is so wild to me.
From the idea of doing a podcast to actually record the first one. We lunch.
Yeah,
yes,
launching our
Thursday.
episode. Yeah, like I feel like that's super exciting and a lot of milestones. I mean, episode 5 will be good. I think. Like I feel like it's a good milestone, but we're halfway there.
Yes,
because we did say we wanted 8 episodes this season, right?
Yes.
Maybe more if you guys
Maybe more. Ask for it. Share the topic. Tell us what you want.
Yeah, tell us what you want to hear.
That's very important because we definitely want to be the voice of so many.
Our community.
Of our community, correct?
Yes, yes. Okay, so today's topic, it's going to be a little bit heavy, especially for the people who grew up like us in Haiti and who were there before, what is it? I was getting the years confused, but it's 2010, not 2012. No, seriously, because, it says come see January 12th, and then I'm always thinking it's 2012, but I have to remind myself it's actually
I see what you mean.
in 2010. So today will be indeed a heavy topic, and for anybody who feel like they might get triggered by this, like we just want to give you a little heads up. Like if you feel like that might be an uncomfortable topic for you, we will be talking about the earthquake that happened in Haiti in January 12th of 2010. We're just gonna talk a little bit of our experience and
okay.
We're gonna talk a little bit about our experience and about like how we experienced that evénement and how we had to adapt coming here into the US.
Yes.
Yeah. And what brought this up again?
Because of the earthquake that happened in Myanmar, Thailand.
Yeah. Honestly though, I saw this video that so triggered me. It was exactly me like during that day. Like there was like this lady, the earthquake was happening. She was in her house and then she was just like dragging the stroller. She had a baby in her hand and dragging her stroller. And this was literally one of the scenarios that happened to me because my 2 cousins were at my house, like baby cousins, and like the nanny was with them. And she just took the eldest one and ran out and left the baby in the stroller in the house.
It
was the nanny, not even like the mom. So so as I'm coming out,
the help, the
as I'm coming out, I see the stroller and I'm like trying to grab it, and there was like,
how old were you then?
I was 17, 18.
And you were already so protective.
Yeah, and I literally, you know what? I do have like a nurturing inside. I didn't think about that. But yeah, like no, there was water that had slipped on the floor because I think there was a cup that just fell. And I was slipping and I'm just dragging
the kid. Yeah.
But like, as we're talking about this, like do you want to talk about where you were during the earthquake or do you?
So that day, back then, after school, I got tutored almost every day. And me and my cousin, we were getting tutored outside. So obviously on the balcony. So my house, the way it's set up, we had like the lobby, the first story, and a second story. We were on the first, above the lobby. And I was on the balcony getting tutored. And usually after, I usually finish, I get back home by 3, eat. So we finish around like 4 sometimes. So depending on what we're being tutored on or what we need help with, right? So usually after school and after we get tutored, there's always like a feuilleton happening, right?
Oh my gosh, this telenovela was really
that was about.
I was also watching it during the earthquake when it happened.
So guys, this is.
Do you remember the name?
Which one was going on at the time?
Was it Maima?
No, Maima was way before that. There was some of the good one. Margarita. It was either Margarita
or
guys, something.
If you were also watching, let us know because I can't remember.
Let me know because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that day, so usually my tutor session gets past the time of the feuilleton happening. So, but that day, for some reason, we finished a bit early, and then I was like, oh, let's just go watch the show. Like usually I go on the balcony to wait for like my crush to walk past my home. It's because he literally
A crush that is
that is
now her boyfriend. Guys, this is a story from a time. Tell us if you want to hear the story. Please say yes. Because I want us to like have it live because this is like some crazy intense love story.
Oh my god.
Anyways.
But yeah.
We're
So I literally usually I go outside by that time because I know il était dans un abonnement.
Yeah.
So he gets dropped off by at the top of the la Ruelle, and then he would just walk the street
corner. Okay.
Yeah. And then walk past my home to go to his home, which was like further down the street. So but that day for some reason, I don't know if I was mad at him. I didn't care, but thank God I didn't go outside to wait for him because when that earthquake happened, my balcony went from this to this. So I would have basically rolled down and,
oh my God.
So I literally was like, no, I don't need to see him today for some reason. And then we walk back inside. As we're walking back inside, and it's just like, it just happened. And the first thing I realized is just that my wall just sliced. And then I just felt my house just go down on the main floor.
Oh my God.
So lucky for me, the top level did not fall apart on me.
Yeah.
But we both just sat down on the lobby. Wow. So basically
wait, the top part.
So the second story did not fall on the first story, thank God. So we both sat down on the lobby. So the house just went. So it just
crushed the first floor.
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
And then my balcony just went like
all
this.
All of this happened? Like you felt the house crumble. That's wild. Yeah. I don't know what type of like
and then when
your ancestors were like protecting me. Oh my God.
When this happened and I just realized for some reason I thought of 9/11. And like, because you know how you would watch videos and there was just so much dust. Yeah. And then I remember telling Nitisa, let's just close our eyes for a second because I don't want
during the earthquake.
Yeah, let's just go, because I don't know if I said that out loud, but I said I need to I don't know if I said that to her, but I just closed my eyes because there was so much dust, because I felt like, okay, this might impact my eyes. So I just closed it. And then after just opened my eyes and then I realized. So at first, okay, I'm like, okay, we're good. But then I turn around. The border of the balcony is not here anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing my garden is at my level because we had a tiny garden on the side. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh shit, my mom is under this. And then that's when I'm like, what the fuck? And I just start screaming. Yeah. So now, guys, Maddie, in her infinite wisdom, wanted to just jump. And because we had like a rock.
Guys, you know, it's sad. It's crazy that, like, 15 years later, because it has been 15 years that we can, like,
I literally wanted to take somebody else's child and just say, no, how can we get out? Because everything was obstructed.
Wait, so you're trying to convince Letizia to jump with you?
Letizia, I think we just have to jump. And I think I grabbed Letizia and then somebody was like, no.
Wait, how old were you in the earthquake?
16.
Oh, wow.
16. And then they made us walk around the border of the house, and then we got out. And then that's when I'm seeing my house, how it, it's no longer there. And then I'm hearing my mom scream.
Oh, my God. That must have been traumatic.
It was. And then
you could hear her. So it wasn't like, I thought, for some reason, I thought your mom was like, somewhere, because a lot of people lost like a sibling or a family member because they were somewhere else, they were at work, or they were not. So my mom was home.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was here. Yeah. But that day, usually when we're getting tutored, she's always at the top level because she always feel like I'm getting petit mon lakay mo, even if it's a tutor happening. She wants to be making sure everything is fine. There's nothing. So if we're getting tutored here, my mom will be sitting on the other side looking at us. But that's. So this day, somebody decided to visit my mother, and again, they were downstairs talking about death, literally talking about death downstairs. And I remember when I was walking past them, and I was like, I looked at the person, and I was like, why is she tolerating this? Like, why is it? Like, for me, I just was like, yeah, I was like, I was back in, my mom said, oh, say hi, like and this. I looked at the guy, and I was like, why is this happening? But for some reason, I had some type of not happy when I saw it. Yeah. But so my mom was like, oh, I'm gonna die. You need to find a firefighter, right?
Oh,
then
she screamed.
She
at
literally screaming like, "I need help! I need help! I need."
Thank you so much for sharing this.
You
this
want to
is
know? So she goes,
Yeah.
"I need help! I need help!" And then she's like, "Okay, firefighter." So I'm like, "Okay, let me go."
Firefighter in Haiti.
She said, "La dire les pompiers, but pas faute." I don't know what's going on.
She told
in
you
her
to call
head.
the firefighters. Oh my god.
Yeah. So now I find a police officer, and I'm like,
You found
Monsieur,
them where? On the street?
yeah, because for some reason there was someone in the street, and I go, and I'm like, Monsieur, I need help, and because again, being young, I thought that this was something like somebody could help me, figure it out because my dad wasn't there. So the guy, and I'm like, Monsieur, can you help me? Like my mom is under this, like comme si elle a crasé. Monsieur a dit, chérie, où vision non? Quand t'es crasé. Yes, I want to. And when the guy told me this, I think I was like, fuck. I'm sorry. Guys, I have to laugh. It's either I laugh or I cry, so.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So the guy was like, "She vision no." And I think that's because again, leaving my home, trying to find help, you're not really processing your surrounding, right?
Yeah.
So it's after me and Leticia was looking like this car is flat on the floor. This is that chaos,
Yeah.
That's when I realized it, and then I'm like, okay, so there's nothing. So I kind of rushed to go see because my cousin live also down the block. I check on my cousin. I check on the crushed.
Wow. Okay.
And then for some reason I did not think that my mom was going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just more like, what is going on? Like, me and Leticia started praying. Like, we thought that this could help or whatever that is. So that was about it. I did not know for the longest where my dad was. And I just think at some point it just went quiet. My mom was not talking anymore. So I guess. And somebody was like, "Oh, she's gonna be fine." So I think that I just kept thinking about that and stuff like this. But my dad, I think, had it the worst because he, from his mind, he think that if somebody died, it's me because of where we position in the house and how we're getting tutored. And when he's thinking about the house, falling apart, maybe I could be projected somewhere, right? But he thought that my mom would be fine. So him from his office, he told me he had to get down the stairs, like, how like in the action movies, like you kind of projected each side.
Yeah.
So he said that he had to walk down from Musso downtown. And then and he's going down this road, and then some random person who probably came from our area, it's like, "Oh, Monsieur Madeleine, is your wife fine? Were they able to remove her?" And then that's how he found out. And he said like it just felt like
they cut his
legs,
Oh my god! Wow,
Yeah.
that's I don't know why. Like I've known you for so long, but I know, like you said, like you try to shut these things out. So I really appreciate you.
Folders, guys. Like my mom is in Europe having her best life somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's me.
I appreciate you agreeing to share this with like me and like our community because this is very intense.
I realize that I actually don't share it that much because there were some people who still didn't know my mom died, which is crazy. But I'm not afraid to talk about it. But it's again, if it's not a I don't.
Yeah, it's not a conversation.
Yeah, but
it's not like something you bring in like over tea or over dinner, But it's insane. Like I've known you. I mean, I knew your mom died. I knew she died in an earthquake, but I had no idea it was this traumatic. Like,
it was traumatic. I didn't say it was traumatic like this, but
but that's true. I think like that's another place like where I think like a lot of us didn't realize that this whole experience was traumatic. I didn't realize until I moved here, to be honest. Like,
so people would be like, "You went through something so traumatic," and I was like, "What was traumatic?"
Yeah. It's like you don't, because it's like nobody really addresses that. Like mine was not even like as close to yours. Like I honestly, like it happened, but for me, I was home. I was like the first one home for some reason. Like it was just me, the nanny, and then like my little cousins, and then I was in my room watching whatever telenovela was happening, and the house started shaking, and I was like, why is there like a truck passing so close to the house? Like I was like, it's shaking the entire house, and I was like, it's so weird. And then when I saw that it wasn't stopping, I was like, okay, I need to rush. So I was like on the second floor. I just rushed downstairs.
Oh, we really didn't have any education on how to act.
Because it's never been heard of. It was the first time we've experienced something like that.
But we actually did have an earthquake.
Really? When?
About 4 to 5 years before that.
Oh.
Because I don't know, maybe in your area you didn't feel it, because that was the first time I felt it so strong. It was like maybe a 4.0 one. Because I was in like my dad's home office, and it felt it so strong that I ran to my mom, you know, but it wasn't 7. It was like a 4 or 3 or 4, but it felt strong in the house.
Yeah. For me, like I don't remember that. So I don't think I've ever felt it. So for me, it was the first time like experiencing that. I didn't even know how to react. But I don't think I realized the extent of the damage until I left my house, like until I left my neighborhood. Because my house was fine. Like I was freaking out because like it was shaking. I was scared because my parents were not home. My dad wasn't home, and then no cell phone services were working except for Ainet, which oddly enough, my mom was like, oh, Ainet go special, like Ainet has a special, we're just gonna have all of you guys get Ainet cell phone. And it was the only cell phone company that was working in Haiti. All the other popular ones were not. So I was able to, so she got me a phone, she got my dad a phone. So I had like the other green, I don't remember. I had like either Digicel or something. I don't know. I had one other one, and then I had Ainet. And I was able to call them and like have a conversation. Did you find? Okay. I found them, and then they were like,
I wasn't allowed to have a phone, right, Daddy? I guess. Right in this moment, it would have served me right. It would have served right, huh?
At 16, you're not allowed to.
My dad, no, he didn't want me to have a phone. Even when I moved here, he didn't want me to have a phone.
Really? No, my dad.
So phones are distractions.
Yeah, I think like the moment my dad stopped like, you know, being the one to drop me off at school, he was like, he gave me a cell phone because he wanted to make sure like he's able to communicate with me, you know, wherever I was. And also like sometimes too, like around 16, 17, like my friends started having cars. So you're going to Pitch, I need to be able to like, reach out to you and like know where you're going. Yeah. But yeah, like for me, it wasn't, so I think like once when I found out it was bad was when I found out that one of my close friends' mom passed away, which your cousin's mom, and I was like, oh my God.
That was another thing. When we found out about this, because my uncle, I think, was you know how like somebody got traumatized and you could see the
uncle, the one in New York?
Le frère de mon papa.
Yeah.
He literally, I'm sorry guys, we have to. He literally, you know how like you went to a traumatic event, it takes some time for you to start showing, you know, some symptoms of that. I think for my uncle it was instant because 2 days later he comes. I have to say this in Creole. Madeline, on crier? Eh bien, faut mettre courage sur parce que elle mourir. And everybody's like, what? Everybody, no, it's the way he said, on crier. Like he comes in like. Like the way he did it.
Haitians though in bad news. Haitians will give you bad news in the worst way possible.
Oh my God. Oh
no.
And we went through so much because we were downtown. And what about the tsunami scared?
Yeah.
So we literally had to rush, leave downtown, go uptown.
I didn't know about the tsunami scare.
Listen. So we only tap cool because thank God for us, my uncle has a school. The school, the way that it was built, it was like parallel foundation.
Is
like
Paco considered like
à côté de Chucho, c'est pas.
So like kind of like okay. So kind of like mid.
It's like it's downtown.
It's downtown.
I would say no, maybe midtown.
Okay.
Because I consider Thomasin
upper,
upper, and then you have uptown with still.
So it's like less, like not like so much in the mountains, like, so
and then downtown would be like La Ville.
Okay, yeah.
Let's think about it like that. So what was I?
So you live in Paco and then the tsunami.
Wait, so now we were in that school. At first, we went to like another property. He just had a land, and which was like ragé under. Yeah. So we had to put like sheets and just sleep on top of that ragé. So
No, but life after the earthquake was wild.
Oh my God.
It was wild because it's like it was the same thing where I think like a lot of people were sleeping in tents, and it's just even the aftershock. Every aftershocks were freaking you out. Like you were
there
afraid.
was so many aftershocks.
Yeah,
correct.
you were afraid to go into the houses. I was afraid to go into my house.
No, we tried. Well, obviously I didn't have a house anymore. We tried to move stuff to the other school, and we stayed in that other property for that because we didn't want to be around actual homes because it was just so empty land. But people came knocking because I guess they were just finding safe place to just be. So from downtown started this rumor that blew up Moté.
Oh, that there's like water coming up from.
So it comes to us. So again, the parents are not really thinking if this is true. If it's not, grab everybody, get on the car. Like midnight, 1 a.m. We literally sitting by a pump gas by
a gas station.
Like 2 a.m. We all in a car, thinking that I'm really thinking I'm gonna die. So now maybe this is it. I'm like, well,
this is the end
so
of
what
the
the dreams, of being rich, of being whoever, of going to the States, like, it's done. Like, I feel like everybody's just in the car, like,
That's so traumatic.
Est-ce que c'est la fête du monde?
No, like, you really went through it. I think you really went through it.
Now I'm remembering a lot more, but I went through it. And after that, we just found out that it was like volé thieves who literally studied the rumor just to go into homes and start stealing. So that was it.
It's like, I love my people, but it's like they are capable of the worst sometimes. You know?
So that was because at the end of the day, we just went through this traumatic event. So again, it makes sense that an earthquake can conjure like a tsunami, right?
Yeah, it could come.
So it makes sense that we thought that this was happening. So we didn't have time to kind of question if this is true, if this is a lie, because my aunt has 5 kids. Has 5 kids. My uncle had 3 kids in his hand. It was just a question of we need to go.
So all of your like father's like siblings kind of you guys
we
all kind of stayed together.
Stayed together for the longest.
Yeah, like my experience was not this traumatic. Like, I mean, for me, the first time I saw how bad the damage was like I told you when I went to go look for stuff. I was like, okay, where is she? And then I was like driving, and I'm like, whoa. Like people, dead bodies on the streets.
No, I didn't get to see that.
Dead bodies on the streets, like buildings on the ground, like still dust everywhere. And I was like, that's insane. And it was absolutely wild for me. But yeah.
It was crazy.
But it's crazy how we don't see this as trauma. Have I told you how? Okay.
That was your... Okay, guys.
No, but before
No, guys, imagine
but no, someone... first we have to tell them how. Okay, so after the earthquake, right? After the earthquake, around like the earthquake happened like second week of January, and around like maybe February, my parents were like, "Well, you're a senior in high school. We're gonna send you to the States, right?" And like I was born in the U.S., so I have American citizenship, and they were evacuating Americans, and all you had to do was go to the embassy. My parents just dropped me off at the embassy.
So t'as cherché un ménage, tout bon là.
How?
Oh, to citizen, the camera là, that's it.
You're checking, yes. I can't.
I had to.
No, comment ça vous faire venir déporter?
Oh, faire déporter. Oh shit.
Comme ça tu dis ça?
We're cutting this. But this
girl, you're trying to get me to go to jail, aren't you? Right. Okay. I thought you loved me, but but yeah, my parents just dropped me off at the embassy, and
at the embassy.
At the embassy, yeah. That's where they were evacuating. Everybody was American. If you wanted to leave, like that first wave of people, it was early February, like probably first week of February. My dad just dropped me off at the embassy. They wouldn't let him go in because he's not American. They just took our paperwork, and I was like 17 or 18 already.
Oh, so you could take care of your
sister. I was
about
to turn 18. No, my sister didn't go. They just sent me because I was already planning on going to college in the U.S. because I was about to turn 18.
No, okay.
Yeah, he was like, buy your bags, pack me, and like left me there. And I was literally by myself.
Wow.
And then they took us, like they were bringing supplies for Haiti in military planes. And whatever the planes came and dropped off, in these same planes, they were evacuating Americans in there. And those cargo planes, they would take us and like put all the Americans in there and put you on the ground and strap you with a huge
so that
belt.
was true, right?
Yeah.
Because I came here as well in a military plane,
Mm-hmm.
but by this time I left like 2 months after.
Yeah.
So they had like some type of seat, not the actual plane seat, but like a hammock style.
Yeah. No.
Hammock? What is it?
For me, it was just like, it was like 4 lines. It was like 1 against the wall, 2 in the middle, like we're back to back, where we're each other's back seat.
Oh, wow.
And then like another one on the other side of the plane. And they would just take this huge seatbelt and put us over.
Wow.
And that's how I came to the US. And I remember like, guys, just to show you how we didn't process trauma, like I didn't realize this was trauma until much later. Like my first corporate job, I was an intern.
Wait for this.
And honestly, I feel like I said this story so many times until I realized that this is not funny. They would be like, when they'd be like, what's a fun fact about you? I'd be like, oh, I don't think that in our culture there's any, like people never ask you these type of questions like, what is a fun fact about you? Like this is such an American thing.
You know what?
I just feel like it's not part of my culture. So I never knew how to, I was like, how do I answer this fun fact thing about me? And I was like, the only interesting thing about me that I felt that I had back then was, listen, I came to the US after the earthquake, like they strapped me down on a plane with a huge seatbelt and people were just like, oh my God, bro, this is so traumatizing. Are you okay? I didn't know you were an earthquake survivor.
Imagine. No, guys, imagine. Because I'm pretty sure most of you all at work, you were probably asked this question. So imagine you're sitting in a conference room and everybody's just presenting, new hires, and then they ask you, what's your fun fact? In front of everybody, you go, I was trapped
on a plane.
Yeah.
But I still don't know. I still honestly don't even see what the traumatic. But that's the thing. It's still a trauma. But that's the thing. It's like even coming to school here, right? Like, I think like there's a thing where in Haiti, but also I think that also helps a lot of people stay resilient in Haiti, right? Where it's like, where we don't think about things that trauma. We're just like, we just need to keep moving. We just need to keep moving. Because even when I came here in high school, I didn't have a thick accent, right? And I started to write for the school newspaper. And obviously, like when I came, everybody knew I was one of the groups that came like after the earthquake. And like the principal was like, would you mind writing an article about the earthquake experience and also interviewing some of the other people who are also earthquake survivors who came. And I wrote the article. I was like, okay, why not? Like good for college applications. Let's do it, right? And I did that. I wrote like an article, and then like a lot of people started realizing, whoa, you came from Haiti with the earthquake people, and then like they started like asking me question, how was it? And they're like, oh my God, this must have been traumatic. I'm like,
well,
it happened.
It happens
like
every day,
it happens. Like I mean, obviously my experience wasn't as traumatic as yours, right?
Okay, that's probably why, yeah.
Like I had like family members who maybe lost limbs, who got injured, but I limbs like I had like a family member lost an arm.
Got it.
Yeah, like but I didn't have like I didn't really lose anybody close to me in the earthquake, right? So for me it was like traumatic, but like even coming here on the plane, for me honestly, I was thinking, wow, this is happening in that moment. I'm like, I'm just going to America. Like it was always part of the plan for me to come to the US to come to college. This just happened earlier, and it just happened to be on a military plane in like a tragic way.
So by the time I left Haiti, it was more, we had to go to the actual airport. Oh. And obviously you don't go to the same checkpoint of, going in, checking into a flight. It was more like a big line, like you stayed there for hours. You don't know when the plane is leaving, when it's coming. So basically showed up to the airport 9 a.m. and it was 10 p.m. So I stood on my feet. So whatever the time I came there early till like 11 p.m. with my dad. Like it was like honestly.
Your dad traveled with you?
He couldn't. He was there with me. He couldn't. So the first time we went, because I just had turned 16. He was not a resident at the time. Just with visa, he couldn't travel with me because
But if you were 15, he would have. Because I
feel
like I know a lot of people that they
just with a visa with no visa.
Travel, if you're accompanying a minor that's American, you get to come.
But my dad, the fact that yes, I was
a U.S. citizen.
But him, I was past 16, so I could travel on my own. Yeah. So they didn't let him. So he took me back home, and then I traveled the next day with like my other cousin and my uncle, uncle, because obviously his kids are
Underage.
16. Yeah.
Did you get like when you got to the US? I don't know, for me, like the military plane would just take you wherever they were going.
Yes.
So my military plane ended up in Orlando, and they're like, okay, we're dropping you here. Find your way home.
I don't remember which state it was because honestly, thinking about this, I think I just was like a zombie traveling.
I was a zombie too.
Because it was just like leaving my dad behind. And then taking that plane.
Maddie.
It's fine. Leaving my dad behind was hard for me. And I don't know. I didn't, it was just like,
Girl, don't ruin that makeup.
right? So it was just, so it felt like a dream. Even if I was with my cousin, I just remember getting to the airport. Somebody said, you need a flight to New York because I just thought, obviously, that's where I have family. I don't know, like, I just don't even remember. Nothing. I just, like, remembered military plane.
Some napkins or something.
And I just remembered the flight to New York. And I remember, like, getting, and I just remembered getting home. So it's like, I remember military plane. Somebody asked me about if I needed a flight to New York. And I said, yes. I remember it was Delta for some reason. You see how when you watch these shows and then they just show you like somebody's just standing and then people are just talking around her? This was me. So I remember the military plane, that airport, I need ticket, Delta, get to New York. I don't even remember who picked me up at the airport. I just remembered I got to my aunt and then I saw Stephanie. So we just hug each other so hard. So
it's crazy because you guys are two cousins who lost your mother, so I feel like that was like
and I already
both could
knew
relate
about
to
that.
like,
and it was I remember just hugging her and then I just started crying.
Oh my God.
So
it was just like so much change happening in one moment, and I think like that's why a lot of us like we just were zombies through it all because it was the same thing. I remember that same thing where I got to the airport where there were like a bunch of people who were helping. They were volunteering for this. They had little come see what do you call those clipboards, and they're like, okay, where are you going? There's a plane, JetBlue, going there. And I remember like
whatever is available.
So many I remember sleeping on the floor waiting for the next plane, and then I ran into my best friend, Vanessa, and she was sleeping, and I was like, Vanessa, oh my God! Like it was so wild.
So while in the corporate, Munio have been parling, comme si c'était like, oh mon Dieu.
No, but honestly,
I had to experience this, you know.
But nobody taught us anything about trauma, and honestly, I didn't realize trauma until later. Because even when like the first time, I don't know what your experience was and how your mental was after. I feel like for you went through something way worse than I did. But even for me, like I didn't process that trauma. I was like, okay, the earthquake happened, it happened. But I remember one time I went shopping in the city in Boston, and I was like at the Macy's downtown, which is underground. There's a train that goes over it, and I was in the fitting room. There was a train passing on top, and it started shaking the whole fitting room. I was crawling down, freaking out,
trauma,
like, crying. And for me, I still didn't realize that this was trauma. Because nobody really taught us. We don't talk about mental health in Haiti. We don't talk about, PTSD. We don't talk about any. And it's like we just move. It's like it happened. La vie continue. Like life goes on. And I think like that's also Haiti's savior. Like when you think about whatever happened to the earthquake, and they're like Haiti's resilient. I think like part of them like not knowing that this is what it is, and they just keep moving on, and they're on survival mode all the time. It's not good, but also it allows them to keep pushing.
Because this is the same thing. Stephanie and I were going to the mall, left our aunt's house, so walking down it's like the suburban area in Brooklyn. So when that bus comes like so fast into the next street, it just goes into like boom. So for some reason you just kind of feel it. So Stephanie and I literally was like, earthquake. And then after realizing it's not an earthquake, and we just looked at each other laughing, and then it was just like,
it's crazy because it's like now we can look back at it and be like, yo, this was trauma and laugh at it. But in the moment, I had no idea what was going on.
No idea.
It was just like, this was like, oh, people were like, this was traumatic. I was like, really? What? It was? Okay. Like, oh my God. When people would feel bad for me, I'd be like, but I didn't die. Like, in my head.
But did you die though? Did you die? Literally. That's what was I was like, okay, I went to something traumatic. Did I die?
This was literally
here,
my
right?
mental. Like, I was really like, but I didn't die. Like, I don't understand. Like, because in my head, so many people lost so much. I felt like mine was so minor. Even talking to you right now, I still feel like my experience was it was an experience I lived.
And you know, that's one of the things as well. It kept me going to a certain extent. It was just that I'm hearing people who lost five siblings, four siblings, everybody died. And I'm like, you know, I just lost my mom, my dad is like, how dare me take this as this is, you know, because this person is dealing with so much more, right? I
know.
And then this girl, when I saw her, and I said, you're so inspiring because I know what you've been through, and I know you lost so many of your siblings.
This girl I was in theater with, like, and I used to call her my daughter, and she died. Like, she died, and like her sister was also like, and they were both in my school, and I knew her sister, and like she posted about how she like that girl that I used to call my daughter at school because she's younger than me. She died. Her brother died. Her dad died, and I'm like, yes, wow. So for me, I felt like I wasn't entitled to feel any type of way.
So
like
even me, who lost one person, I just felt like other people just lost so much more. But again, loss is loss. 4, 5, 1. It, you know, it's still. Yeah,
I still feel till this day, although like I'm grown, I still feel like feeling sad about it is like ungrateful because I was one of the lucky few who was able to get out of the country, who was able to like come here and continue life, because life after the earthquake, being in Haiti was also very traumatic, because it's like we were sleeping in tents, and also that's the thing, like my parents had access to resources, which Haiti, if anybody lives in Haiti, there's a lot of comment on appelle ça,
which one?
Like, you know, when like there are resources there but only the rich have access to it when it's not for them. For example, like the government, or I don't know who, we received a lot of tents and food and everything for the like people
having contact.
Yeah, but it's like the people who need it were not the ones that were getting it. For example, it was like the rich people, the people who worked in government were taking it for their family members. And because I remember like my dad, at least he was like, we don't need it. Like he would just take and give it to the people who worked for him. But like just seeing the abuse of resources, like people who did not need it, taking it for themselves, and like not even allowing the people who actually needed these resources, the tents, the food. So it was bad. Like also even showering. Like I remember every time we were showering, say, "On bien rapide." You go in, you shower, and you get out, because you never know if the house might shake and like drop on you.
Yeah, because at this point we were at my uncle's school, so we felt safe, and the way he parallel foundation type of built, because there's a big empty space in the middle of the building. So we were sleeping there, so we could take showers behind. But it was as well like, you're not spending too much time because you're near, you know, the building. We want to be further away.
We started showering, like we have like the outside shower where it was like, it's a specific like shower built for the people who worked in the house. We would just shower there and it'd be like, and then at first we progressively were able to get back in the house at some point. But it was like crazy times, but I wish we had more resources to deal with like this trauma and like all the mental.
Well, when I came here, my uncle is a doctor, so he said, well, you guys went through so much in therapy, you guys need to go see a psychiatrist. So my dad and we go to a doctor's office, and then I am a psychiatrist, so this is my first time a Haitian
going to see a psychiatrist.
Okay. We get inside the office. The people are looking at me like this.
Why?
Psychiatry. It's a psychiatry. So whatever, name it.
So they're like looking at you like you have issues.
No. The people waiting to see the doctor looking at me like.
I thought you meant the doctors were looking at you. The patients
looking at me like this. It was like someone like this. So looking at me
Why
crazy,
did they do this to you?
Because we went to psychiatrist.
Oh, not like a psychologist.
We went to a psychiatrist. So again, he had patients before us. So we get in, and my dad and we looked around, we left. And then we literally ran out of there. And I said, no, do not tell me I do not like these people. I'm not crazy. What are we doing?
But
I'm not seeing a psychiatrist.
Whenever you talk mental health to a person, they ask you, are you crazy?
Exactly.
Am I crazy? You know, and that's the thing. They associate going to see a therapist or like seeking mental health
correct.
help is
because we don't have this
crazy.
type of knowledge.
Yeah,
we're thinking
we
that psychiatry called local.
Yeah.
Local.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Wow. Okay, so now, like, I think we both had the same journey. We're coming into the U.S. So how do you feel, like, now we're in the U.S., like, how was that for you? I think for me, like, again, like, I think one thing that I noticed is, like, you at least had an uncle who tried to take you to see a therapist. Like,
because
I feel like
doctor.
I literally went to an uncle's house where it was my aunt's husband's house. But it's like when I used to come in Boston in the summer, I used to stay with them. And my mom thought, like, because me and my cousin, we grew up together, basically. Like, whenever I was in the U.S., I was born in their house and everything. Like, we've always been together. They used to think we were twins. She thought it would be the best place for me to go. But I don't think a man has any idea how to raise kids. Yeah. And I think, like, for him, like, he did not do anything to just be like, okay, you just went through this traumatic experience. I'm going to make sure you go to a therapist. Like, even feeding, sometimes he didn't think about, like, doing. And I think for me, it was such a different culture shock compared to, like, coming from parents who just doted on me and, like, where I had everything that I needed. And then now I was in a house where life was completely different. Like, the lifestyle that I lived in Haiti, I was not getting it at all here. I had to walk hours in the snow to go to school. Like, it was such a different experience for me.
When I came here, I have to say I got lucky to the type of home I went to. You know, like, my uncle was two professionals, right? Business owners. I did go to private school, so it wasn't a rock, but I didn't have to walk outside, but I had to go from having a driver in Haiti, and now I'm taking the bus, which my dad, the first time he saw me take the bus, he cried.
Really?
He was like, my daughter is taking the bus
honestly, the first
to
time
school. My aunt said, your dad, because he stayed, he came to visit, he literally took, walked with me to the bus station, and my aunt said when he came back, he just was like, started crying, and my aunt was like, what is going on? But what we take my
it's a different experience.
I'm sorry. Like, it's not that taking the bus is a bad thing. It's just that my dad
that's not the experience.
That was our thing.
Yeah.
We spent years. We fight before we leave the house. It's a whole drama every morning.
My dad dropped me off at school every morning. It was our thing
in the morning to, so basically it was most of that seeing how life has changed, right? It was no longer this, because there was always this understanding that after 18 I would move to the state, but this was this was at 16, so that was 2 to 3 years before, ahead of time.
It definitely is a culture shock to just go from being in Haiti, being in your own house with your parents, like having them take care of you, to go into somebody else's house. I feel like, just for me and other people that I've talked to, the experience of
queen of the house.
I know people who basically, these people just thought they were their maids as soon as they came in.
Not with me.
No, like, I know people who experienced it. I didn't have that experience.
No, not with me. Even if they tried, not with me.
I know, Lenny.
No, I'm not saying that you're not going to try.
Alive.
Try.
Yeah, I think they would be too scared to try.
No, try.
No, but I know so many people who went through bad experiences. I think for me, my experience wasn't, like, perfect, but I didn't experience abuse, right? And I feel like, thank God, I had a lot of other resources. Like, one girl that I met in high school, her family basically adopted me. And I still call their family, like, my cousins and my aunts, and I'm so thankful for them. Because I don't think, like, my uncle was doing it on purpose, but it's like he had lost his wife, which was my aunt, like, maybe 2 years prior. And
so he was going through his own
thing, and he didn't really know how to show up for me in a way that I needed to. Like, he would forget to buy groceries sometimes. You know what I mean? And I was thankful that I had, like, my older sister, and I had, like, my like Christelle's family, and also, like, Inja's family, like, which took me in and were very much like, oh, okay, like, on the weekend, come stay here. Like, we're still gonna take care of it. Like, we're gonna
find another community.
after school, good. Like, Inja's family, like, which became my family, they would see that I would walk back home. They'd be like, no, we're dropping you off. You know what I mean? And my uncle would drop me to school in the morning, and then they would always make it a point to like either have me go to their house so they could feed me Haitian food and then drop me home way later.
Perfect.
And that's how we built our friendship too.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. But me, it's not that there wasn't issues with where I went and all of that, but to the core, I was welcome.
Yeah.
I was guided to a certain extent. You know, there was always food on the table. You know, so that was good. Okay. Yeah. I would have not going through that experience. I would have. Let's say me, I would not have sent my kids. There. And I'm not saying that's to be...
Or to the U.S.?
No, like... For me, I think that going to somebody, sending your kids to some person's house, to someone's house, you have to make sure that your ideas of raising your child matches this. Yeah. And also know that if the person is ready and know how to also prioritize your kid.
I think a lot of Haitian parents, they're on survival mode, and once they're ready to send their kids to the U.S. for a better life, I say better life, you know, they are just thinking like whoever is willing to take the kid, because it's not everyone who wants to take your kid in.
Yeah.
And being an adult now, having to pay bills and also having to like be responsible for my sister and my niece, I can understand the financial burden that comes with this. Is like you're choosing to have a child and be responsible for a kid that you basically did not choose to have, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so when you send your kid to a person's house, imagine somebody was like, okay, I'm gonna send my kid to Tati Madli, and then you have to be responsible for that kid.
So for me, I would not be afraid to say no if I can.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you can't,
for me, if I can't, I will not be afraid to say no. And that's because I'm not going to take on something that I'm not able to handle. But I do understand some people feel the guilt tripping and all of that.
Like, yeah.
I understand. But some people, it's not even the question of they cannot handle the kid. It's feeling comfortable spending their money on somebody else's child.
That's the thing. It's like, it's all of that. Like feeling, because for me, it's like the moment that I decided like, yeah, I want my niece to come live with me, whatever. I was like, I'm willing to do, although my dad helped in everything, I was like, this is going to be my responsibility. This is my child that I'm choosing to have. Like, I know I'm young, but nobody said they were going to send her. I was like, I don't want her to stay in Haiti. Send her to the US, right? So this became my responsibility. But I do think, like, for me, at least my parents, my dad helped me financially in making sure that, like, the burden wasn't all on me.
But imagine, like, the
emotional support.
Taking on the space around you.
Being responsible for a kid, like, school.
And I applaud you for that, because I think one time I overheard my mom talking to someone saying, oh, like the lady was like, oh, maybe you should have another kid, or if you can't, adopt. And I was passing by and I said, who should have another kid? I said, no, you better not have any more. You better not have any more kids.
I can't with you.
I literally said, you better not have any more kids. I'm already 14, because I was past that 12, 13 age for sure. And I said, what if you died? I have to take care of your kid? I don't want to do that. You're not having any kids. That's a no and no.
So you just straight up told your mom?
I told my mom no. I'd literally look at the lady and I said, why would you, like, my face was just like, why would you tell my mom stuff like this?
I do think like 15 years later is a little bit extreme though. Like, I think, honestly, I have an 8-year age gap with my sister.
Oh, really?
Now we're like super close. But when I was younger, I hated it.
No, my mom was like, oh, but you said you always wanted a sibling. I said, yeah, when I was 5.
Yeah.
I'm 12, 13. What do you want me to do with your baby?
Yeah.
No. I said no. So, but since having lived through this experience and I had to go to my aunt's house and all of this, in the future, I definitely want to open my door.
Yeah.
To someone. That doesn't mean that anybody just call me and say, Maddie, can you help me? No.
No,
I don't do that.
Maddie says her door is open.
Comme ça. No, in the future, right? Dans le sens que, but there are some clauses for me.
Yeah.
There needs to be an alignment on how I'm raising my kids and how you're raising your kids.
So,
si on même son gros sur l'église, et puis
I agree on that part.
I cannot take like petit ton sur l'église within my home, because my kids are going to live their life and develop and make their mistakes and and be who they need to be to a certain extent. They will have guidance. I will be very strict. But when it comes to the core values of things you do, it needs to align with me, because you're not going to tell your kids some crazy, I don't know, story of how things need to be, and my kids are hearing something different.
That's the thing. I agree. Like, when you take a kid in, there needs to be some alignment on how you raise the kid, because you cannot have two adults, like, raising a kid. Like, when I say two adults, like, you cannot have two different, like, parenting style for a child.
Correct.
Because, and it was crazy. Like, I was 24 when my niece came and lived with me in the U.S. and everything, and I really made it clear to my brother. Like, I was like, it's my brother on my dad's side. And I was like, okay, like...
You are very much an adult.
I was like, this is going to be my rules, or that's it, because she's living with me. Obviously, like, you know, like, what I need her to do, I need backup on that. Whatever needs to happen, it's like I'm making decisions. Like, yes, I will consult you, but I need to know that if she's coming here, my rules are my rules. Like, I have, like, full control as to, like, when she comes in, it's like, if she's going out, like... I'm the one making these decisions. And my brother was like, okay, fine. Like, like, we didn't have an issue. I never really had any, like, my mom was the only one who really would, like, have issue butt heads with me in the way that I decided to parent my niece.
Got it.
Because at some point my mom would come in and be like, I don't want it to be done this way. I'm like, no. We already have an agreement that this is what I'm doing with my niece. I told her this is allowable, this is not allowable. You cannot come here and decide that you're going to start putting in your sets of rules and your sets of parenting. Like, no, this is confusing. And it's important for you to have that alignment. I totally agree on that.
And when it comes to financial, it's just that sometimes people feel it's so hard for you to spend money.
But it's,
on
again,
someone.
that pace of scarcity where you don't feel like there's enough to go around, and you don't feel like there's enough.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if there's that, you cannot take somebody's in, because taking
That's
a child
thing.
in.
But then there's also
you need to
that
have
guilt
money.
around, like, you don't want to leave.
One.
You don't want to leave that person in need. That's the thing. You have to pick one.
Yeah. You cannot say, I feel, oh my God, I feel bad not taking you in. And when it's time to make a purchase, you're like this towards the
You
card.
can't do it.
You can't swipe the card.
You need to, like, I think, like, for me, even, like, a young age, like, because it's like for a lot of things, it was like base necessities, like rent and everything. Like, my dad was like, okay, we're taking care of that. But when it came to, like, oh, my niece wants to do volleyball, I was like, I want her to have this experience. I want her to look good on college.
Was nice of you
on college
at your age as well to make that sacrifice.
And I was like, I need her to do all of these things because it's gonna look good on college applications.
Correct.
But that's also another thing that I feel like when parents are sending their kids here, they're not also taking into consideration, like, the knowledge that the people in the house have.
Yes.
You know, because for me going to college, thankfully I was surrounded by, like, amazing people. One of my close friend, Christelle's, I used to spend so many days and weekends in her aunt's house, because she, just like me, like, we had, like, the same journey of leaving Haiti, coming here after the earthquake, and, like, being at family relatives' house. Like, her aunt, you know, was like, worked in finance, so she did all of the college. Like, she grew up in the U.S., like, did all of the college experience. And my parents, like, grew up in Haiti, went to school in Haiti, are not very much aware of the American system. And I don't think my uncle who lived here went to college, so it was I didn't have that.
You didn't have the support.
I didn't have the support or the resource that I needed to know how to go about going to college. And having Christelle's aunt be there and, like, go over my FAFSA with me, tell me these are the resources out there for scholarships and this, and also having other people like
they didn't
friends.
Do that with me, and they did have the resources. So, but thank God
they did not.
They did not, and they knew. But I think that for me, thank God I went to a private school. I think my counselor helped me with a lot with the application.
Yeah.
And I struggled to sit down to study for the LSAT. Like, because it was that
the SAT girl. You want to go to law school?
SAT.
Please.
Because I've been taking. I always. That's another thing. No, but to study the SAT, like knowing to just, like, somebody like me now, I found out that I have ADHD. So back in the day, I didn't understand that. But even as a parent, to know that, you know, this is something important. Like, my dad would be like, Maddie, sit down or sit there, you know, with you until you get it right. But I didn't get that type of guidance. But yeah,
you don't have that hand holding either.
Yeah, I'm not their daughter, you know. But this is the thing. Like, for me, having a child in my home,
yes,
no child is coming in my house,
and
not coming out successful.
That's how I feel.
One thing about my mom, she spent her money in the best school for people she decided to help. And these are people today who are successful. If they have any financial issues today, it's because that obviously the way Haitian society is, losing your job, you cannot just quickly go back in your feet. But everybody left my house going to work Sushi Bank, promoting to like close to being president of this this other girl who lived with me basically went to work at Sushi Soil, ended up working at as a manager for this consulting office. It's just that for me, there's no way for you to come to my home and not live successful because it's also say comment ça. I would judge somebody coming to my, let's say you have somebody in your home and I'm like, how you're this successful person and you are not able to help this person become successful.
But I think like there's also like that educational part of it too. Because when you think about it, right? The problem of like les restes avec, which are like basically child slavery, right? In Haiti. It's a lot of times the aunts, like, you know, the relatives that are treating their like, you know, family that are from a part of Haiti that is like poorer, taking them in and having them basically be their child slaves.
When my dad, I remember my mom was saying, I remember my dad was saying that once they got married, automatically the aunt I had back in OCAP called and say, oh, my venti won't be with him. And I was like, hell no, I do not need this.
And I think like that's that same concept too, where I think like, for me, because of who my dad was, this would have never happened.
Yeah, my dad.
You know what I mean?
I never had any child working in my home.
Yeah,
ever.
But also because of who my dad is, coming here in the U.S., no family member, no relative would ever have in their mind to kind of like have me be doing any type of like labor.
Correct.
But it's like a lot of kids are coming from Haiti, going to relatives' house, and they're basically their maids. Like I've seen it with my eyes.
I've seen this and I heard
where like literally one person was just like, okay, like you go to work, you give me your money that you go to work for. You wake up, you do the laundry, you iron the kids' clothes. The kids that are the same age as them. Iron the kids' clothes, cook, go to school, all of that. Like this child had to do. And it's like the kid comes here in the US for a better life and it's like, is it a better life?
The girl and the boy who came to live with me, they were older than me.
Yeah.
My mom went to my school to register them. But obviously you have to take a test and I guess it didn't pass. She didn't get into my school. So my mom went to Bourdon and other school. She got into Bourdon. But at some point, I guess she didn't have enough good grades for the school. She got kicked out or maybe, you know, I would feel or something. Yeah. She, there was a school across from our school, which was a good school. So like the driver same
my
service.
Dad was the same thing. Same way
service.
Too. Yeah.
Like, my driver, they drop me to school, they go around, drop her, pick me up, go around, pick her up. If there's an extracurricular activity I'm doing, she's doing it. If the only thing she wasn't able to do was travel, because obviously she's not my mom's daughter, therefore she doesn't have the, you know, she's not American, didn't have the visa. It was, you know, different. But anything that I was doing, I don't think that, like, from my experience, I don't know what's her perspective of it, right? But from my experience, whatever we were doing, I was doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. I made it a point too, because my sister was there. My sister and my niece are kind of close in age, and whatever I did for my sister, I made sure I did. Actually, I feel like my sister would be like, "Oh, you would go overboard for like Keisha," which is my niece. Be like, "You do so much more for her," you know, and not in a jealous way, but I think like it was important for me to have her feel like she's not an outsider, because you're already away from your parents, you're away from your family. It was important for me to make her feel like this is your family, you're accepted, and you're no different than my sister. You're basically my sister, you're my niece, you're my child. Like, I want you to feel like you're loved, and that this is not like when somebody sent you away somewhere, like your parent, and then you're somewhere where you're miserable. I wanted her to have the full American experience. Whatever I get from my sister, she's getting too. Christmas, whatever she wants, it's like I literally was treating her exactly. I made it a point.
Yeah, when my mom died, she was like, my mom died. She literally, you know, because they had, like, obviously they fought because my mom is very controlling, like, Pop Soti, you're not doing this. You know, obviously in that, in that way. But as a child, I did not. I thought this was my mom's daughter. Just, we shared the same room. She was older than me, so obviously she babysit. Obviously, they toujours about votre type of thing, right?
So you kind of had a sister then.
I did to a certain extent.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about other culture shock, right? Like, did you experience the culture shock coming to the U.S. from Haiti? You're already in high school, went to all-girl private school, and now we're in school in the U.S.
So, coming here, so I went to another all-girls here.
You went to an all-girls school here?
All-girls school, because my dad said, if I put Maddie in public school, they'll probably beat
Your
her
dad
up.
was really just, why? Why would they beat you up?
I don't know, maybe because I'll be a snob. I don't know.
School fake, because he knows you're
he literally said she needs to go to
have
private
a smart
school.
mouth.
He literally said that, but my cousin went to that school, so we just went to the same school. So that's it.
I think for me, I definitely experienced a culture shock, because I did go to an all-girls school.
I did get culture shock. Like, one thing I realized was, I'm in the class, nobody's talking. And I'm like,
wait, you were allowed to talk in school? Like, when you say talking?
As in, they were not talking to each other. Obviously, we're not allowed to talk in school.
Okay.
But we would still talk in school. Okay. But I saw the kids so, like, especially like the way so focused, and especially maybe it was the time.
Girl, your school was a different, because I went to public school, and for me, I was shocked by how the kids were just doing whatever the hell they wanted.
It wasn't like this for me. It was very structured.
Like, it depended on how strict the teacher was too. Like, when I was in my honors classes and stuff, like those honors AP classes, the kids were very much more focused. Okay. But it's like when I came, they were like, to graduate, you have to take certain history classes that you didn't take. And they were classes with, like, not honors kids. And they were literally just, like, on their phone, ignoring the teacher. The teacher was doing it. And also, it's, like, the disrespect towards the teacher. We could never. For us, we grew up, like, every time our teacher comes into the class, we stand up. Bonjour, madame. Like, basically saying.
I got in trouble for not standing up one time.
Really?
Yeah. I don't care.
Like, at school?
Yeah, I didn't care for her.
You and your teachers in that school.
Care. They didn't like me. I didn't like them.
No, but it's like that was a culture shock for me. The kids, the behavior, going to mixed school too.
Yeah.
And also seeing kids like make out, like full blown make out in the hallways. I was like, wow.
Welcome to public.
It was. I'm sorry. It felt like,
but very structured. The only class I was last with was history class, which kind of makes sense because we're talking about stories, history, and all of this. But no, it was very structured.
Okay, but did you have so for me, I'm trying to think like what else like really shocked me. Like
it was the homeworks.
The homeworks?
Having to write in English.
Really?
I think that for me, I just created this. Once I get scared and I'm like, there's a difference between me who's on Messenger or Yahoo Messenger texting in English versus a teacher is asking me to do something and it's like I have to write proper English. Everything has to make sense. The first homework I got, I just was like, let me go back home. I don't want to do this. I hate it.
I feel like school in Haiti was so much tougher.
No.
The thing that I did...
math, it was just that particular
But math
English.
is easier here than it is...
it's not the math class that I had an issue with.
The English.
Having to write a full...
English.
Because... I was a junior, so it was the time where they having you do full-blown 3, 4, 5 pages. And I said, why do you want me to talk about this lady? That's the
thing. I do feel like here, they encourage critical thinking.
Yeah.
When I say critical thinking, it's like they very much like want you to have an opinion more. Whereas like in Haiti, it's a lot of like so you study, you memorize it, and whatever you memorize, you have to regurgitate it on your test. Like your test is asking you like exact questions that you have to memorize the answer to. And part of it too is also because in Haiti, although like most people, everyone speaks Creole, all the schools are teaching us in French. And a lot of times the people who are in school in Haiti they don't even fully understand the French, so they have to memorize whatever they're doing, right? So it's a lot of memorization and putting it in. Here they're asking you. Because for me, a class that I struggled with was chemistry. Okay. And it's not like physics I did really well. I did really well in like theory. Like when they were like, okay, what is XYZ? Doing it. But when I had to do labs and apply whatever I learned into real life, it was a struggle for me because we didn't have that many. We had lab classes and physics too. We also had that. Like we had some lab classes, but like, it was more like, okay, we're showing you whatever it is, but it's like we're not actually doing any math around like the chemistry part of it.
They took me to physics day, and you know what it was? So we had to go to Six Flags. To measure the wind when you're at the height. So it was my first time taking. I went to like obviously to amusement park before, but it was my first time on a how do they call it, the roller coasters. I'm on the Nitro, and I just saw one part of it, so I just said, oh, okay.
Another thing for me, like I think in terms of like culture shock was, I think in Haiti, in Haiti we wore uniforms, and coming here, seeing kids come in school in pajamas and everything. Oh my God. You didn't get to experience that because you went to private school?
But I would take the bus.
Oh.
So there was a private bus that could pick me up. They had like a private bus for the school we could do, but it was expensive. And I was going to pay for it, but they don't come pick me up in front of my home. So I just had to walk to, so basically I could just be with a bunch of private school kids and go to school. But I had to, the same walk I'm doing towards the bus, the public transportation is the same walk. So we ended up taking, together. And you all get a free Metro card when you're in high school. So I just took public transportation to go to school, and I would see that.
Yeah, that was a culture shock for me. Like, because it's like for us, we dress up. Yeah. Even when we have like days that we don't, journée de couleur, we would call them, like where we would go to school, like, you know, without uniform. Everybody would just be putting their best outfit because you wanted to show off that you have style and that you can dress up nice. But anyways, but this was such an adventure, honestly. Yeah. I think it's crazy to think that like we went through all of this and here we are today. In the U.S. starting a podcast. Yes. Well, we started a podcast. We're podcast hosts now.
No, fully.
Yeah, and I'm proud of us. You know, I'm proud of us like working through this trauma and being the women that we are now, and also being able to just like be in a space where we feel some type of healing, to be able to look back and laugh at it and like retell the story with emotion, but still laugh about some of the crazy stuff that happened that day.
Right? Yeah. So, what advice would you have for young kids coming into the U.S.?
What advice would I have for kids coming into the U.S.? I would say, you know, like make sure, you know, you find like you try to go into like a lot of like community spaces that have resources for you. Like I think like not all of us are fortunate enough to land in a home or in an environment that is supportive or that has the resources that you might need. And also I feel like some family members, because their kids are not doing well, will want to hold you back. You know, I did not experience that, but I've seen it where it's like, because my kid didn't go to a 4-year college, like I don't think you should go to a 4-year college. I don't think you should do this and you should do that. And
I think one of
it's like, especially like in the Haitian community.
To someone I know, it said, "Oh, this one didn't finish, or you're not gonna finish." Like, what does that mean? Yeah,
always remember who you are, where you come from, and always remember that you can do anything you want. Like your school has resources. Get to know them. Like, if you see somebody doing something that you want to do, feel free to like ask them. Go to them and be like, "How did you make this happen?" If you see a friend that's telling you that like, oh, my aunt is helping, because that's what I did, where my friend, like her aunt was telling her, this is what you need to be doing. These are the FAFSA resources. These are all of the resources that are there. And I jumped on that. Like, and I feel like a lot of times, like we're afraid to ask, like we're shy. I would say when you come here, try to find resources. There are a lot of organizations, especially now with how like the internet, like having access to information.
Yes, we didn't have that.
We did not have that as much, you know.
Especially the same way that Google Maps works now, it was different.
Even TikTok. You guys love being on TikTok. I would say use your resources to your advantage. That would be my advice.
For me, I remember my aunt was taking time for me to go buy my SAT. I just said that in school, and the girls were just so ready because they saw leaving school and going shopping as an adventure. So they took me to downtown Brooklyn, took me to Barnes and Nobles. I got my book. So when my aunt finally made time for me to go buy the book, and I was just like, no, I bought it.
Yeah, exactly.
I went and I took care of that. Yeah.
Like, wait, and also stay away from like troublemakers. Like, like the story of like how one time I was hanging out with my high school friends like in the US, and they were like, let's go shopping.
Leave school?
Like they were like, okay, no, after school, it was a Friday, they were like, let's go to the mall. These girls were cutting tags out of their Like, you know, like the little ring thing that they scan and
Oh, they were stealing.
they were stealing. I
Oh
was
my
like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't. I can't. I was like, nah, I'm good. So stay away from these kids.
Yeah.
Like, you know, make sure you surround yourself with like the right people.
Yeah.
But what about you? What advice would you have for like a kid coming?
No, like you said it all. Like, you are a. One thing I would say is it's not even for young kids, because especially now with the way Haiti, with all the instability and people having to flee and coming here and feeling that, oh my God, I'm starting all over. People start over all the time. And I think that it is okay. Of course, you're going to be scared, but know that everything will get better over time. Because I remember the thought process I had when I had to just do a little homework and I was just freaking out. And today I just have to speak with people about $1 million and I have to draft off emails looking at debt calculation and a bunch of stuff. It's just remembering that kid will struggle so much to just finish an essay on Michelle. I think was it on Michelle Obama. And now I'm just having big conversation debating like what should we do with this money, you know, in a corporate. So you're not going to stay that person at all. You are going to grow. You are going to be fine. And even to other people our age right now listening to this, it's just that at any given time you want to start over, it is possible. You can do it. There's no age limit. And I think that we can always start over, and the sky's the limit.
Oh my God, like while you were saying this, I was thinking about another thing. There's like a saying in Haiti, which I always hated, right?
Which one?
That would say, après mon Dieu c'est blanc.
Hey.
Which means, like, translation, after God is white people.
Oh my gosh.
But it is a saying in Haiti,
right?
No,
I remember that.
Where I think, like, there's, like, this worshiping of, like, whites that happen. And I think, like, it makes it seem like, it makes a lot of, like, Haitians, not all, like, some Haitians who grew up in certain environments, like, when they come here, they're very intimidated by whites. They're intimidated by, like, the things that they're doing. No. Girl, I'm saying girl, but, like,
boy,
king,
girl, whichever,
queen,
all of the above.
High, all of the above, whatever you identify as, hold your head up. We came from Haiti. Our ancestors kicked the colonizers out of our country. Remember where the hell you came from.
Okay. Warrior.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm a Dahomey queen.
Yes, guys, please. Like, it's just question. It's like, I would literally start conversation just with people, white people, and my friends would be like, she's so comfortable talking to people. Why should I not be comfortable?
And also, if you have, like, also another thing, like, if your English is not as great, parle occupé mon. Because, you know, I know in Haiti, if you you don't speak the French really good, like, people would just, like, make fun of you. No one cares. You can speak two languages, they can only speak one. So nobody cares if your accent is not great. Just speak up.
They don't care. The only thing they'll say, oh, you have an accent. Where are you from?
Yeah, where are you from?
They never kind of laughed out about your accent. They understand. You're not from America. English is not your first language. It's okay.
It's okay. Nobody's going to make fun of you like they do in Haiti. You know, where, like, if you don't speak the language perfectly, if your French is not perfect, they'll make fun of you. If you say English words that are not correct, like, Haitians have this in them where they make fun of you. Here, literally, people are used. This is the land of immigrants.
And it's something I'm still working on, too, because it's so in us to do it. So if somebody says it, I'm like, but I'm trying so hard.
Yeah, but it's something we had to unlearn because, like, when somebody would say, even our teacher one time, like, one of us said something, like, and it wasn't French. The French... the way we used the French wasn't correct, and he made fun of us he made fun of that one girl in front of the entire class.
Professeur?
Yeah.
Même pas but okay.
Anyways, with all this to say, guys, we're gonna leave you up with these little bits of advice. Yeah, like, we hope you enjoyed this episode.
I wish I was in that class.
I know, you know, but thank you. I feel like this one was such a fun topic. I feel like we've been like a mix of emotions.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was an interesting one. We had a little bit of you going on roller coasters have, like, ups and downs, right? Like, ups and downs. But I'm happy we're ending on a high note.
Yeah.
And that we're able to, like, you know, reminisce on these times. And
it's okay to start over. It's okay to be afraid, but know that there are better times coming.
Yes. Amen. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe.
Yes.
Follow us.
Yeah. And we are on Spotify,
Apple
Podcasts
YouTube,
and Amazon Music.
Yeah, like make sure to follow us and like
Leave a
tune in
comment.
and leave us and also message us. We love reading your messages.
Oh yes, definitely. So I'm Maddie,
I'm Ro,
and this was the
Oh My God podcast.